Hi, it's Shannon here, back from houseimprovements.com. Today we're going to show you how to remove an exterior door. We've got a video that you may have watched already on our YouTube channel about installing an exterior door, so you might want to check that one out after you've watched this. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to remove this as if we're going to save it. So we're going to take the door off just to have it out of the way, and then we're actually going to remove the whole frame intact, hopefully. So if you wanted to reuse this frame and door, you could. Otherwise, what I would normally do is take the door off, and I would just take the recip saw and cut right through the jambs on both sides. Then once that's done, you can basically just fold these two pieces in usually. Pull the bottom out, fold these two in, pull them out, and it's done. But for this video, we're going to actually take a little bit more time and remove the whole frame in one piece. So to start with, I've already removed the trim, the casing around the door. Obviously you can see that. Next thing I'm going to do is pull the pins out of the door, just so we can take the door right off and not have it in the way. Those ones came out extremely easy. Sometimes you may have to take a hammer and bang those. They'll be painted on or whatever, but this one's pretty good. So now we can just open it up and pull it off. Oh, lose our fancy curtain. And we'll just move this out of the way. So we've got the door out of the way. Next thing I'm going to do is, it's a little hard to see here. You can see the drywall, but there's actually a space right here where between the frame and the drywall. We're going to take the recip saw and stick the blade into that space and just cut all the way around the door on the two sides and the top. And what that'll do is cut off any nails that might have been, nails or screws that might have been put through the frame to install it, or through the, sometimes there's a long screw in the hinges as well for security. So it's just easier to run the recip saw around there to cut that out. Make sure you have your safety glasses on. And I'll just start at the bottom on this side. I'll cut down and then I'll come back up again. Boy, that's a really heavy screw in there. Let's try to have a look here. Maybe what I'll have to do on this one is actually take back the screws out. Must be a pretty heavy screw they've got in here somewhere. Right there's the culprit. We'll just check that each hinge. I guess the other two should be good. I got past them. So there was one longer screw, and a lot of times when people install a door, they'll put one long screw in every hinge that actually drives right back and into the framing in the wall. It doesn't feel like there's any nails, but I'm just going to go right all the way around just to be sure. Now, one thing I should mention, a lot of times it's very common if you have a hardwired doorbell that the wiring for the doorbell may be just between the framing and the door frame. So if you do have a hardwired doorbell, mounted on the outside, and it's maybe on the actual brick mold of the door, it's very likely that the wiring is just loosely set in between here. So you'll have to be really cautious about using the reciprocating saw. In this case, actually, our doorbell was there, but it doesn't function anymore. If your doorbell's set off to the side, maybe mounted in the siding or on the wall, then chances are the wiring's in the wall, so you don't have to worry about it. But just one thing to be a little bit cautious of. So I'll go down this side. These could be long screws in here too, so we'll see when we get down there. Okay, so none of those were the long screws, and actually if you look down here, how I just mentioned the doorbell wiring, there's the wiring from this door. Like I said, it wasn't functioning anyways, so I wasn't too worried about it. Okay, so we got that. So that should slightly free up the frame now. Now we're going to move the camera around to the outside, and I'll show you what to do out there. Okay, so we moved around to the outside, and if you look over here, this particular door is a wood frame door with a wood brick mold, and the brick mold has been caulked to the siding. So you're going to want to cut that old caulking off, which can be a little difficult depending on the type of caulking that was used. So basically you just want a nice sharp utility knife, and you're going to have to make a few passes all the way along down there until you feel it kind of break through that caulking. And you'll have to do that on 3 edges of the door, the 2 sides and the top. So I'm just going to go around and do that to start with. It's a good idea to be quite careful doing this, especially if you're using this type of knife with the snap-off blades. You notice I'm keeping my other hand well clear and around the corner, because if you're exerting quite a bit of pressure and that blade snaps off, and all of a sudden you go randomly wherever, you could slash your wrist or whatever. So just something to be cautious of. This one had no caulking on the top. Okay, so I've got the caulking all cut, I think, from the edges. Now the other thing that you may find, because if you remember when we cut around on the inside with the reciprocating saw, there was only a couple screws even that were kind of holding it in. So that tells me with this wood brick mold, there's likely some screws through the brick mold back into the wall. So we may actually end up damaging that brick mold trying to get it off the way we're going to try to do it, but we'll just see what happens. So depending what siding you have, you might be able to get around on the outside here and get behind the brick mold and pry without damaging the siding, but most times you won't be able to do that. If you had, actually I should bring it up, if you had a stucco on the outside, or brick, with brick, it'll be similar to this. There'll be a caulking joint, so just cut it. If you have stucco, the stucco is likely finished right up against here and maybe even stuck to it. So then what I would do is I use a 4-inch angle grinder with a small diamond bit in it for cutting concrete. And I'll actually just take that blade of that angle grinder and just basically put it right against the brick mold here and run it right along here, so you're cutting the stucco free. And just go nice and easy and slow, and usually does a nice job. So then if you're reinstalling a door into that same spot, you've got a little bit more clearance there, and you just would caulk it anyways. So if you try to pull your door frame out with stucco wall and the stucco is bonded to it, you may pull a chunk of stucco off, so it's best to free it up. Okay, so I don't want to pry against the siding here, so what I'm going to do is actually go inside, and I'll just show you on this side. I'm going to go between the edge of the jamb here and the brick mold. In fact, I'll start on this side so you can see. So I'm just going to maybe try a smaller bar to start with. So what this will do is actually pry the brick mold off. So if we were going to maybe resell this door or try to reuse it, we would pull the brick mold off, and if it was still good, we could reattach it to the door frame when we reused it, or just buy some new brick mold to put on the frame. So we got that started there. Try this guy. So then as you're prying, you can see it started to come free, but just watch along the side where you cut your caulking. Just in case you didn't quite cut through all the way somewhere, you don't want to pull your siding off or wreck the siding. So I'm just kind of working my way along, remembering that, this would be as if you're trying to reuse this. So you can see the nails in the, there's a nail here, well, every 16 inches or so there's a nail through the brick mold into the frame. And I can see there's the odd one about every 3 feet or so on the outside of the brick mold going into the plywood, into the wall. So we're just going to keep moving along. It's starting to come free now. Just move across the top a little bit. You can see my door frame's actually wanting to push in now. It's coming free. Just being ever so gentle. If you can get this off without busting it all up, then you can reuse it if you needed to. Whew. There's about 40 years of dust there. Okay, so the brick mold's off. You can see on the back side the double row of nails. So this one would have been into the frame, this one would have been into the wall. And on this particular door, that's basically what was holding it in place. I'm just going to set this inside out of the way. Okay, and our frame, like I mentioned, is already basically wanting to come out on its own. You can see it leaning back into the house. You can see the you can see that this one was insulated with bat type insulation. You can see it kind of stuck in there all the way around. Now usually the sill, the rest of the frame's leaning in, but the sill hasn't really tried to budge yet. There's generally not any screws holding it down. Get some of the snow out of the way. But it could be caulked or silicone down, so I just like to try to get underneath it just to get it started, so that we don't pull the jambs right off of the sill if we can help it. Okay, I'm going to pull the jambs in a little bit further. And you'll just have to be cautious of insulation falling down your neck and dirt and everything else like that. Okay, and the sill is starting to move there, so I think it's going to come. So I'm just slowly leaning it in. And give it a little wiggle and out it comes. So you can see the bottom of the sill there. This one had no insulation or caulking underneath of it, which made it easier to get out actually, but not that energy efficient. So the frame's out. I'll set it to the side. So now we're left with the opening. We just have to remove all the insulation and dirty crud that's in the opening here. So now you have a couple different things you can do. Now the opening may be ready to install a new door, if that's what your plans were. Or maybe you're just removing the door and eliminating it, so then you're ready to frame in that opening and cover it in. But basically what I've showed you here is how to get the door out. And in the case of what we did, it was basically reusable again afterwards if we wanted to. Now the next thing you might want to do is check out our channel. because we also have a video of how to fill this opening in. We're eliminating the opening in our case. So I have another video posted up that will show you how to frame this opening in. So do the stud work and do the plywood on the outside, and then it would be ready to put the exterior finish on whenever that comes around. Okay, so that's Shannon from House Improvements, and I hope you liked the video. You can check out our forum on the webpage. On the website. There's also articles on the website, and of course our YouTube channel with lots of videos to watch. Thank you.